I welcome everybody to our latest episode of our Oncology Advisor podcast for the technology theme. Today, I'm joined by our esteemed guest, Joe DePinto. I'm Waqas, and I'm an oncology fellow at U Chicago. Thanks for joining today, Joe.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about InspiroGene by McKesson, a dedicated business to support the commercialization of gene therapies, and really just talking about sort of the new blend that reflects some of the new work that's been doing to transform care for patients and sort of advanced gene therapies and sort of the broader setting for patients. Before we sort of go on with the interview, Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Joe DePinto. I'm the head of Cell, Gene, and Advanced Therapies at McKesson, and we recently launched our new vertical, InspiroGene, focused on the cell and gene therapy marketplace, providing solutions and services that would enable the value chain. And I'm a 30-year healthcare guy, 30 plus years. I've had a variety of roles at large multinationals and small biotechs. I found my career really brought me in through a lot of different disciplines, always focused on bringing innovative products to patients. It's been a great journey. I've been really blessed to be engaged with some unbelievable technology and really helping patients optimize their care. This latest role at McKesson, building out the InspiroGene vertical, has been a bit of a labor of love because it matches up the science that I love with the unbelievable patient outcomes that I desire.
Yeah, that's amazing. And usually when you think about gene therapies, you think of only being able to get it in a really top academic medical center, a few places across the country. But it sounds like you all are working on helping expand that. Tell us a little bit about maybe one or two of the core products and services you offer. Whether it's sort of distribution or 3PL.
Yeah, so at InspiroGene, that is powered by McKesson, we're very fortunate to have a plethora of assets to be utilized in the cell and gene space, really configured specifically for the challenges that our partners find in navigating that value chain. So we have a best-in-class third-party logistics organization that will do everything from order to cash and
Mhm.
and ordering as well as reconciliation of products. We have a specialty distribution business, as well as we have the biologics specialty pharmacy and a brand new cell and gene therapy specific patient hub to help navigate some of the patient. So we have good core distribution and patient
Mhm.
logistics assets, as well as really patient access, clinically case management focused hub to really help that white glove process of navigating the patient through the complexities of the delivery of these products to them.
Got it. And we've had a variety of guests. We've had people involved in smaller startups, bigger companies. How does InspireGene as a business unit, specifically under McKesson, impact the potential for commercial success?
Yeah, so the science in cell and gene therapy has been
Mm.
tremendous, and a lot of activity scientifically in the space. And now we're at a tipping point. This is a sort of a nascent market, but we're at a tipping point of seeing more and more commercial approvals. The
Right.
beauty of what we offer with InspiroGene is we help in that transition, but we can be engaged as early as we possibly need because of some of
Mhm.
the more clinical assets we have. But what we've been really focusing on as our core is our patient distribution, logistics, and patient access resources. So we can help the smaller or emerging biotechs with an integrated offer where they have one resource that they can go to at InspiroGene that
Mhm.
really allows them to do everything from distribution, logistics, all the way to patient access.
Mhm.
And we can do from ordering process of the product all the way
Mhm.
through to revenue recognition through the services and solutions that we provide, not only from a pure access standpoint, but from technology platforms as well.
Got it. And I also saw that your team put out the 2024 Cell and Gene Therapy reports. Talk a little bit about that, sort of in respect to access to gene therapy and some of the findings with the surveys for oncologists.
Hey, thanks for asking about it. We're really proud of that work. It's been a bit of a labor of love this year with that
Mhm.
project. It's our inaugural 2024 Cell and Gene Therapy report. And what we set out to
Mhm.
do is use primary market research. We queried 124 hematology oncology
Mhm.
professionals, And we also married it with secondary data sets from global data. And we really looked at what are some of the barriers to access for these products commercially. How do we look to see that more of these products get to more patients and really see the value of them coming to the market? And we looked at those barriers, but then we matched up the identified barriers with subject matter experts that
Mhm.
gave possible solutions in how to navigate those barriers, as well as what resources could be leveraged by McKesson. The third component that we set out to do is take a look at site of care delivery in the United States. Site of care for cell and gene therapy in the United States is predominantly through these major academic centers. And
Right.
where are the current treatment gaps from a metropolitan geographic area? And
Mhm.
where do we see this going? So we wanted to set a level set in a site map, a site of care map, that it's static in the report, but it's an interactive version when you go to our website at InspiroGene.com. And that will allow for us to update that every quarter so we can see the progress that the cell and gene therapy ecosystem is making in allowing for care to be given more closer to home for more Americans. And that's key because we know from the research that when a patient has the ability to access care closer to home, there's a higher
Mhm.
degree that they'll opt into that care, a high degree of certainty that they'll opt in. So it's a great resource piece. That wasn't an easy feat to get all
Yeah.
those sites and web scrape and look at different external sets of data to put that all together. But we feel it's that one place that the entire cell and gene ecosystem can go to see
Mhm.
where the gaps in care are in the United States.
Yeah, it's definitely important because you can't really manage what you can't measure. So it's good to sort of see some of the disparities and some of the unequal access to gene therapy. I'm training in Chicago, and over here, if a patient comes from sort of Chicago area, you kind of have a choice between picking between different hospitals where you want to get some of these advanced cellular therapies, but a lot of, parts of the country that might not, really be the option, unfortunately. That really ties in with the health equity aspect as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I read sort of on your bio online that you were the first male national board member of the Healthcare Businesswomen's Association. So that was pretty neat.
Yeah, it's something that I've been very close with that organization for years. Healthcare as a whole is challenging and complex, and we need diversity of backgrounds, diversity of experience to be able to
Right.
navigate the complexities of healthcare. And I'm a big proponent of it. And it was something that I engaged in as a board member and then later as an
Mhm.
advisor with the Healthcare Businesswomen's Association. And trust me, I learned so much from that experience personally and
Yeah.
professionally. And I love to see them continue to prosper. They've done such great
Yeah.
things for
Yeah.
women in healthcare.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And sort of, going back to gene therapy, it's so hard for, rural patients to get access to an oncologist, to get access to an oncologist for rare cancer, if it's the head neck area, for example, access to a clinical trial. What kinds of challenges do community hospitals or areas face in obtaining gene therapy products currently?
If we look at the space and we look at the map that we just put forward, there's clear
Mhm.
gaps in more rural and geographically dispersed areas where up to 60 million possible people are there in that
Mhm.
geographic area that don't have regular access. What I mean by
Mhm.
that is that they have to travel more than 50 miles to
Mhm.
get care. What you find there is that there's going to need to be more community-based hospitals that start to engage in the cell and gene space because
Right.
there's just not academic medical centers in those spaces. So we see just theoretically what we're anticipating here and what we're starting to see play out in real world is the migration from these academic centers to
Mhm.
community hospitals. And
Right.
community hospitals, as you've pointed out, have different infrastructure,
Right.
they have different technology,
Mhm.
and they have different desire to give the product, but yet operational challenges. And the beauty of the report is Rocky Billups from Sarah Cannon Research and Rob Richards from University of Pennsylvania give some real practical tools on training of personnel, of
Mhm.
operational flows, of how to think about a hub and spoke model, yet
Mhm.
what components do you centralize within the system and what do
Mhm.
you allow to be done at the local place to allow for care to be given safely, effectively, and conveniently for those patients that need cell and gene therapy in their local community. So in the report, when you go to it, I'd ask you to read the Rocky Billups article component, read the Rob Richards, because it really gives some practical tips in how they see expansion into the community and some of the challenges
Mhm.
and some possible ways to overcome those challenges. So again, that
Mhm.
was the goal, not just to lay out the problem, but what are some of the possible solutions here?
Right, right. Yeah, and you mentioned sort of the need for better infrastructure, the hub and spoke model. I think also there's a need for more oncologists, more people who are able to manage some of the products, right? Or whichever specialty we're dealing with. We're at academic center, you're able to have people who just focus on one or two things, but in community center, obviously that might be more of a challenge. What specific investments do we need to equip community hospitals to be able to offer commercial gene therapy?
I'm glad you brought that up. In Rocky's article, he exactly talks about nurse training, training the whole
Right,
treatment team. It's not only oncologists, right? It's
right.
that entire treatment team from the cell therapy coordination to the pharmacy coordination to the administration. And he talks about the nursing component and the training
Mhm.
component that Sarah Cannon Research Institute has instituted along with HCA as they look at their network and how to make cell and gene therapy. So the training component is absolutely one of them,
Mhm.
right? Because these folks that give these products, they're unique and they
Right.
sort of have some, listen, this is complex science. And
Mhm.
complex science really necessitates services, solutions, and technology that
Mhm.
can allow that science to be delivered. But you need to be trained on it. And
Right.
all these sites need to be authorized by the different manufacturers that are delivering these products because sometimes especially on the cell side,
Mhm.
the delivery of these products starts with the patient, so they become part of the CGMP process. And so understanding all of these components at the community hospital is really important, but training on appropriateness is really important as well. And we see some of these starting to take hold, and
Mhm.
it's sort of a beg borrow component to it, right? What I mean by that is they will utilize some of the academic center systems and
Mhm.
processes, SOPs,
Right.
SLA, because they're part of their network. So I think the migration will be large academic healthcare systems, community outreach posts within there, and then other community hospitals as well. And looking at how do we leverage what's already been done already from an SOP, from a training, from an
Right.
accreditation. And then also there's a lot of work with FACT and
Mhm.
AABB in looking at how do we make sure that they're organized appropriately,
Right.
they're delivered safely with rigor.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned the whole care team sort of being knowledgeable about gene therapy. I know at least with some of the cell therapy products that are offered, nursing has to know the administration, sort of understanding how to infuse different bags, understanding the complications, when to alert the provider, things like that. So of course, everyone in the care team really matters for safe and efficient administration of these very complex therapies. Just a couple other questions. You've had a lot of key roles in pharma prior to this. What makes this role a little bit different for you?
Well, I love this role simply because
Mm.
I love science, right? And when I first was engaged in the early 2010-ish in cell and gene therapy, I was fortunate to be engaged with one of the first products ever, dendritic cells for prostate cancer, and a
Okay.
product called Provenge. I learned firsthand on some of the challenges in navigating the value
Mhm.
chain there.
Right.
And I've been engaged in a variety of different cell and gene therapy roles. So I love cell and
Mhm.
gene therapy. I really am excited about InspiroGene and McKesson because of the
Mhm.
diverse assets that we have can really make a difference in allowing for more access of these products through the value chain. We're well positioned where we sit in the ecosystem as McKesson and InspiroGene
Mhm.
to really be
Right.
able to help a lot of patients. I'm at a point in my career where I really want to make an impact on patient care long term. And if these products are going to live up to the promise that they have, we
Mhm.
really need to be able to make sure that these products and the patients can navigate the value chain to access the right drug at the right time for the right disease.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's great to hear. And one last question we ask everybody who joins us the guest on the podcast: What's your information diet? How do you keep up with things? What do you read? How do you keep up with the latest news and findings?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's the formal diet and the informal diet.
Yeah.
When you've been
Yeah.
around as long as I have, you make a lot of friends along the way. So you learn information from friends and colleagues in the space. And I've been in cell and gene for quite a long time. So you get a lot from the informal diet
Sure.
of
Right.
information. I go to a
Mhm.
lot of seminars. I'm fortunate enough to be asked to speak at a lot of
Yeah.
panels. So I go to a lot of conferences. Great way to get information. And now with your handy dandy phone, everything is able to be pushed to you. So I get a lot of push notifications on everything cell and gene. And we've already established that I'm a bit of a scientifically curious guy.
Sure.
So everything from iPSC cells to
Mhm.
TILs to NK cells
Yeah.
to the latest
Yeah.
gene therapy, whether it's in vivo or ex vivo, is often coming across. And that's what I like to do. That's what I like to read. And I like to always look at it in a way that examines it through the value chain. And how can InspiroGene play a role in standardizing or industrializing
Mhm.
that for patients, right? So that's sort of
Right.
how I get my info and what I do with it.
Awesome. I know. Thanks for sharing that. And thanks for joining on the podcast today. We talked a little bit about health equity, some of the core products being offered by InspiroGene and some of the work that you all are doing to address some of the disparities in care and access to commercial gene therapy. Thanks again for joining, Joe.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.